Well, good Wednesday to you again. Rodney here. Seems like these Wednesdays just keep rolling around and they come quicker and quicker, it seems like. And hope you're doing well and hope things are going well where you are. It was kind of, I guess, alarming would be the word. I wasn't surprised by it, but it was a telltale sign of where we are in terms of this virus and what's going on around us. Sunday, when David got up to make announcements, he just listed those who were battling the virus. And certainly we have several now in the church here at Leoma, and the elders have been discussing what to do and how to keep trying to meet. The last thing they want to do is close the door, and that's the last thing we want to do to start with. And so we may have to do some more online stuff. Obviously, you're still doing online stuff now, and so you haven't resumed coming back, at least not on Wednesday nights. Or it may be that you're watching this tonight because you didn't feel comfortable coming tonight to services. And so for whatever reason, we recognize that there are ever-evolving details about this virus and things going on. And certainly we have several cases now, even some in the hospital. And so with that being said, we certainly hope you're well and you're safe where you are. If you do have a need, or if you do have something that we can help you with, we'd love to hear from you. Call the office during the day, 931-851-9181. Love to hear from you, especially if there's something we can do to help you. Tonight we're going to go back to the book of Proverbs, and the key word from the Proverbs is hope for tonight. Several weeks ago, months ago now, we dealt with the topic of hope. One of those first lessons that we did as we resumed our Wednesday night together and meeting in this fashion, we talked about hope in great detail throughout all the pages of Scripture, the definition of hope, the need for hope, the value of hope, and the hope that we have as God's children and as Christians. And so we have dealt with the topic of hope, but I thought that it would be good and necessary for us to go back to this topic because it's clearly in the book of Proverbs, some 9 times in the book of Proverbs. There's actually 15 words in the Hebrew language that is translated some degree of hope. Now, we use the term, and I started that lesson and almost started with today, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're safe. I hope you're feeling okay. I hope the weather's beautiful where you are. I hope your family's doing well. I hope you have some great Thanksgiving plans. I hope that we're all safe enough to do Thanksgiving in some manner. I hope that, and I hope, and I hope, and I hope, and I hope. I hope those that are battling the virus get better. I hope those that are in the hospital can be home soon. I hope that the death rate will decrease and even stop with this virus. And we just hope and hope and hope and hope. And we have the idea of hope in our vocabulary on a variety of scales as well, if you will. And so the Hebrews did the same. Some 15 different words. We only find 3 of them in the book of Proverbs. And it's interesting that the first 3 occasions that we find this evening deal with one of those words. The 4th occasion is a single time in the book of Proverbs, and it's a very neat word. And then the last 5 are the same word for hope, as we find these 3 out of the 15 in the book of Proverbs. So we start in chapter 10, Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 28. Proverbs 10 and verse 28. I'd invite you to follow along with me. Now, this is one word for hope that means expectation. That means confidence in what has maybe not been seen or not been experienced, but what will be. And so, Proverbs 10 from the Hebrew language in verse 28, the hope of the righteous brings joy. In other words, there is a future expectation or confidence in something that we are looking forward to, that we are looking ahead to, that we are anticipating, but it's more than just an anticipation. It is an expectation, as it goes on in verse 28 in the English Standard Version. But the expectation of the wicked will perish. The hope of the righteous brings joy. The joy that can be had because of the hope that is deep down within. Chapter 11 and verse 7. Again, the same Hebrew word. When the wicked die, his hope will perish. And the expectation of wealth will perish too. And so again, this word hope, expectation, translated two different ways here, but the same idea of anticipation or expectation, great confidence in what will come. The proverb says, when the wicked dies, so does their hope. What a sad position to find yourself in life. What a terrible tragedy to know that. I think about when I read Proverbs 11 and verse 7, I think about that sign that says to the atheist, I would rather die and find out there is not a God than to die and find out there is. In other words, I'd rather believe there is a God, as I do, and die to find out there's not, than to have the reverse mentality and live life believing there's not a God and find out that in fact there is when I die. When the wicked die, their hope perishes. Their hope ceases because all they had hope in was life. And when they died, the life that they had put all of their marbles in that bag, in that basket, they put all their eggs in that basket, and that basket fell. Their hope fell. You see, as a Christian, it's not about life. And as a matter of fact, we understand that death only opens us up to the door of the hope that we have. The great expectation, the great anticipation with confidence that we have. We don't have our hope to perish. In Proverbs 13 and verse 12, we find the third and final occasion of this Hebrew word in the book. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Patience. Patience is not enjoyable, is it? I was just talking to one of our members today who may in fact be watching this, and I was telling him that on the backside of this virus, I hope that we're all well and healthy and that we can have a better perspective of what it was doing while we were in it. But we're just going to have to wait. We're just going to have to be patient. One day at a time. 1 hour at a time. We don't know what the future holds, but we look to the future with great expectation, with great anticipation of confidence, because we have hope. When you start deferring something, it makes the heart sick. You know, I think about my retirement plan. My retirement plan is on a deferral. We are deferring my retirement plan because I'm not able to retire right now. Oh, it'd be great. And so this money is going into an account that is deferred, and sometimes it makes my heart sick. One day, hopefully, Lord willing, I or somebody in my family will get to enjoy it. But right now it's on a deferral plan. Or maybe it's the doctor. And you are not only are you deferred, but you understand that with the deferral, you are also going to be delayed. We don't enjoy that. It requires patience. Makes the heart sick. It makes the heart have to persevere. And so this deferral is going to require more time. And so you're going to have to make an appointment and you're going to have to wait on that appointment. And we just don't enjoy it. We don't enjoy the idea of deferring. When hope is, let's just imagine that when we die, God says, now we're going to defer. You had hope in death, but we're going to defer that well, you go back to our end of time study, we're going to defer that another 7 years, another 1,000 years. It makes the heart sick. We don't enjoy that. No, we want the hope to be revealed at the proper time. We want the doctor to see us as quickly as possible. We want to enjoy our money now. We don't want the plan deferred, but we understand the importance of that sometimes. The reasoning behind that and our hope when it is deferred, though it may be for a reason and for a purpose and for a plan of God, it causes difficulty on our part. A desire fulfilled is the tree of life. It brings nourishment. It brings joy. It brings peace. It brings fulfillment. But when it's deferred, we're left to continue. When it's delayed, it causes suffering. And we're left to try to work through that. The word that is found one time, it's in chapter 14, and it's in verse 32. Chapter 14 and verse 32, this word only found one time. The wicked is overthrown through his evil doing, but the righteous finds refuge, there's your word for hope, in his death. Death, a very difficult time, a time of trouble, a time of difficulty, a time of discomfort, a time of strife. And the Bible says that the righteous find refuge in death. They find hope. Now this word here, this Hebrew word, only found this one time, means to confide in. It means to trust. It means to have confidence in, to protect. It's the idea of refuge. It's the idea of shelter. It's the idea of strength in time of need. The righteous confide in, find refuge and strength in their time of death. A time when others would be very hopeless. A time when others would be very stressed and very anxious, even depression and despair. But for the Christian, for the child of God, to have hope, to be able to flee to God, to be able to retreat to God, to be able to confide in God. Our refuge. What a hope. What a confidence. The next one found in chapter 19 and verse 18, and it's the first of the last 5 that deal with the same Hebrew word that means literally to attach a cord to literally attach onto, to attach a rope, to tie a string around. Figuratively, it means to have expectation, to be expectant of. And so in chapter 19 and verse 18, discipline your son, for there is hope. Discipline, attach a cord to, attach a rope to, hang on to, because there is hope in time when you can discipline. There may come a time, you may lose the time may escape you when discipline is not effective. And so tie that cord. Literally have that string attached, but figuratively be expecting of. And when the expectations are not lived up to, then discipline, chastise, punish for the betterment of your child. I don't know how else to illustrate this, but to say to you, my parents who may be watching this tonight, they don't have an effective course of discipline for me now. They did at one time, and they were able to use that. And they did so. And it provided that they had an expectation of me. I'm not suggesting that they still don't have an expectation of me, but I've cut the string, if you will. I've become an adult, and we're still attached, but we're not attached by a cord in the sense that there was a time of hope for discipline. And my parents got the choice to either extend it or not. I, as a parent right now of young children, I have the opportunity to extend discipline through expectation and ultimately to try to create an adult that will have the hope of God and of righteous people one day. Discipline. Proverbs 19 and verse 18. For there is hope when that child is a child. Do not set your heart on putting him to death. The importance of parenting. The importance of disciplining a child while there is time, while there is hope, while there is a cord attached, if you will. You come to chapter 23 and verse 18 again. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Your cord will not be cut. Your hope will be secure and steadfast. You will be tied if you, verse 17, continue in the fear of the Lord all the day long. Recognize who God is. Recognize where to fix your eyes. Recognize where to fix your focus in life. And there is a future there, and there is hope there. Stay connected and attached to the Lord, and figuratively, with great expectation and anticipation, with confidence. It's there. It may be in the future, and you may have to, with patience, endure the time of today, but it is there. Don't allow the cord, the string, to be cut. Literally, stay attached to God. Stay tied in to God. Figuratively, place your hope in something that is secure and steadfast. Continue in fear of the Lord. Chapter 24 and verse 14. Know that wisdom is such to your soul. If you find it, there will be a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Again, 19:18, 24:18, the idea, 23:18, 24:18, I'll get it right in a minute, both with the same idea of having a future where your hope is not cut off. Having an expectation where you can be secure and steadfast. What a sweet delight. What a great promise that provides peace, that provides comfort. The last two this evening deal with where not to have hope in a negative way, but the idea is, in other words, if you're guilty of one of these two, then you need to have that cord cut. Let's go to 26:12, can we? 26:12. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? Self-conceit, pride, haughtiness, self-intellect, unable to be taught. He don't need anybody's help. Self-dependence upon him and him only. There is more hope for a fool than for that man. In order to be taught, we must admit that we need help. In order to be helped, we must admit that we can't do it all on our own. And that's difficult and that's hard for people, even myself. But to be self-conceited and to have vainglory and selfishness, the proverb says there is no hope. There is no expectation of good for that person. You need to cut that cord of self-righteousness and admit your need for God. Admit your need for help. And then the last one, 29:20. Do you see a man who is hasty in his words? Here's the other negative. One who is quick to speak. One who speaks before he thinks. One who don't adhere to James 1 and verse 19. To be slow to speak. Quick to hear. But rather he's the opposite, or she's the opposite. They're very quick to speak and very slow to hear. They got it backwards. They speak before they listen. They speak before they think. Proverbs 29 and verse 20. Do you see a man who is hasty in his words? There is more hope for a fool than for him. There's more hope for a fool than for him. Be slow to speak. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. Think about who it's going to affect. Just because you type it on Facebook, it's still the same as saying it. It's saying it to the world. Be slow to speak. Be careful how you speak. Don't be hasty. Don't be haughty in your words. For in doing so, you cut your cord. You separate yourself from the hope of the righteous, from the dependency upon God. You become like those in Ephesians 2 and verse 12, those that are strangers, those that are aliens. Remember that you were one time, Paul wrote to the church at Ephesus, Ephesians 2 and verse 12, you were at one time separated from Christ, alienated from the commonwealth of Israel, strangers to the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the present world. What a sad state to find yourself in. As one who is without hope, without God, alienated, cut off, separated. The cord is not attached. The expectation is not there. The anticipation of confidence is not present. There is no hope. There can be no hope because you are alienated, separated, strangers to the spiritual Israel, to the God of heaven. Don't be in that category. Rather, be reminded of Romans 8. Beginning in verse 18, the present sufferings of this age are not worthy to compare with the glory that is to be revealed. You drop down to verse 24. For in this hope we are saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope. For who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Hope, 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 hope. We do not see. If we could see, what hope would it be? But we wait for it with hope. We wait for it in hope with patience. As a believer, as a child of God, it is with confidence that I recognize today that the present sufferings of this age are not worthy to compare with the glory that will be revealed in that day. Be among those, not separated, but tied, literally, with the cord attached to God, safe and secure with hope. For if in this life only we have hoped in Christ, we are of all men most miserable, 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 19. My hope is in the life to come. My hope is in heaven. My hope is in the presence of God for all eternity. Where's your hope? What are you attaching yourself to and holding on to with great expectation and anticipation with confidence? Have a great day. Have a great weekend. May God bless you and keep you well and safe.